All righty, I'll call the meeting to order and ask if there's a disclosure of interest. As there is none, we have a resolution moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there anything new to add to the agenda? As there is not, all in favor, opposed, carried. And now we have our budget today, and of course it starts with the initial draft, so I'll pass it over to Don. Oh, I'm sorry.
Now, Lucy, just before it starts, so we're clear on what we can do, we cannot do here. Is my understanding when we get our package, whether it's finance, whether it's special meetings or council package, it is our duty as elected officials to read that and maybe reread that. If you have questions, you mark it down. If you have clarification, you have clarification. And it's the answer, that's our package, right?
Yes, yes.
All right, then I'll come back to when it is our duty as elected officials to read that. I was nervous about where the backlog was going from 2 million to 4 million. You shot back at me, said, we didn't increase. We had a $9 million backlog. We went down to 4.5. We went down $5 million. And I disagreed with you. I never in all the years that I've sat on council, employee kicked me right in the teeth and supported you. That was correct.
It was incorrect. It was 6 million.
All right.
Yeah.
That's the reason I'm bringing it is because that's live stream. That kicked me in the teeth. That looked me like I was the biggest dummy that's sitting around this table. I don't appreciate that, especially from an employee. You allow that to happen. And you talk about democracy? Get out of here. This place has gone terrible. You allow that kind of stuff. Because I have documents, because I want everybody to know this, that how wrong, especially when you're director of operation and you are almost an asset manager to say $9 million. We had a citywide did the job. 2021 backlog, 2 million. 2022, 5.4 million. And then this today, 5.4 million. And I said to myself, there's got to be something wrong. I said, how can I be so wrong, but I'm sick? Because I was so humiliated by being abused by 2 people. So I called the CEO. And again, there's another one of your rules that you wanted to put in last meeting, unless I have 2 other counselors, I'm not to ask CEO for any reports. So I said, that's correct. Okay, I'll follow that. I said to the CEO, can you do me a favor and email or contact Brent? He's the asset person. And if he will just scroll down the screen, because that's where everything should be, and email me the package where it shows that there's a $9 million deficit. Well, 2 days later, guess what? I get a report back. Not from the asset manager, but our CEO spent his time digging that all up. He had enough work to do because you guys are going to Toronto. That's why I said, contact him. That's his role. If he doesn't have that, why do we have him in here? So I'm really frustrated that staff would do that to each other around this table. And so I almost get to the point where, is it not almost called slander? You slandered my name. You slandered my position as a counselor around this table. I'm really upset.
I apologize. It was 6 million, not 9. I was wrong. That's all I feel I can apologize for. My number was wrong. But I would like to also indicate to you that I'm very disappointed that our staff was slandered by one of the counselors in saying that they weren't doing their best job because they don't live in this municipality. the majority, real majority, almost 70% or maybe more of all of our employees do not live here. But I honestly, with all my heart, know that each one of them have given our municipality their everything. And they've done the best for the taxpayers from the day they've been hired till today. It's administration, office staff, roads employees, all of our employees, all our volunteers. And I'm very disappointed that they were put in the position of being told they weren't doing the best job they could for this municipality. And that's all I have to say. I just am, I'm very we're very sad that you would think I would slander you. Now, I wonder if we can get on to our budget. Wayne and John, would you commence, please? Thank you.
Sorry, so this is the third draft of the budget that we're reviewing. And we made a few changes based on the discussions that we had at the previous two meetings. So I guess the bottom line is that we're projecting a tax levy increase of just slightly over 6%. And after growth, it is just slightly over 3.5%. If you like, we can go through each of the departments and we can highlight any discussions or anything that you may want changed or clarification on. The majority of departments are unchanged, but we can still review them because, you know, I guess the plan is hopefully on the 31st, we pass the final budget to move forward. So,
Okay, so I will ask council. We have it on page 5, the description of the levy increase. Is there anyone that has a concern with that right off the top? And then we could go through all the departments or only specific departments if you wish. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I'm just wondering, at the last meeting, we had the opportunity to have a presentation, well, not have a presentation, but our Director of Operations was able to provide us information with regard to Canoe and that purchasing program. And I'm just wondering, while I appreciate the input that he had, John as treasurer should have been able to provide us with his thoughts on that. And I'm just wondering if that's possible because that purchasing program will reflect in our budget in the long run. So just wondering if that's an opportunity for him.
yeah, I certainly, I'll address that right now. So yeah, so we have started looking at joining purchasing consortiums. There was an interesting article, and I'll circulate it to the team or to the counselors that in Alberta about how much money they're saving by joining these purchasing consortiums. So currently we are kind of like associate member of the Lakehead Purchasing Group, and Canoe is just a larger group. So yeah, so fully supportive of using Canoe where we can. So it doesn't cost us anything to join it, and there is no obligation that we have to use it if whatever we ask for doesn't meet our needs. So yeah, so fully supportive of joining that. So and yeah.
Okay, any other questions on the budget? Any of the departments or a discussion on the general levy increase? Councillor Peacock?
Thank you once again. For the December 12th meeting, it showed that our general funds had transfer of surplus of 1.186 million. Just wondering, where does that get reflected in this document?
So in this document, it will it won't, it doesn't show up in this document per se, because those were from last year, from 2022 fiscal year. But if you look at the working funds, on page 12 of 46, working funds, line, the first line under reserves, GL 007, that 3.525 million includes that 1.8 million from 2022. So as this is a 2024 budget, you won't see it a specific mention.
Okay, any other questions or concerns? Something that requires clarification? Well, I'm just asking the council if we want to go by every department. We've been through them all. There's only been a few changes since the last budget.
I
Maybe
can walk through
you
each
wanna go through
department,
the-
and then
Sure.
if they do have a question,
No
and if
problem.
not, then it's relatively quick, I guess.
Okay, John, it's all yours.
Right. Okay, so first department is administration. So I believe in this version of the thing, there are no changes from the draft number 2. There were a couple of changes from draft number 1, specifically regarding IT and computer software purchases that we discussed, budgeting software and purchasing software that we reviewed. So. Yeah, Donna,
Councillor Peacock?
sorry, Councillor Peacock.
Thank you. I see that the transfer switch, we have nothing budgeted for this year, and that was not completed last year, so will we not need carryover for that?
Yes,
Through the chair, the intent is to have that costed out by the end of January, so it'll show up in 2023 fiscal.
and just to clarify, in regards to the transfer equipment, it wasn't our staff. Hydro never showed up,
Right.
okay? So
No, I realize that, and it, and I thought it was due as well with the agreement of Thunder Valley Development. It was, they were associated with it, were they not?
yeah.
Or
well,
they, for that,
yeah,
okay.
the Hydro did not
Right.
attend as they were said they were going to come, so
Mhm.
now we're just waiting for them to make an appointment again.
All right,
Okay.
Okay, so agencies, I am still waiting for DSAP, although I did receive correspondence from them yesterday. It does appear that the 2024 numbers will be available this shortly. So I actually do hope to have them in before the 31st, if that's the case.
And
So-
did they say what kind of percentage we're looking at? Because I
No.
don't think we're looking at 3%. We're looking at a lot more from them.
Yeah, we're looking, I have budgeted in here 7%, which is twice what other municipalities have. But, or sorry, what they said the average was.
Right.
I think if my math is correct, it will probably be 6%, but I'm not,
Well,
I'm not
better to over budget. it
better to
than
over
it's-
budget,
yeah.
and yeah, so.
Thanks, John.
So, but yeah, and then as far as anything else goes, I also believe, the health unit, I haven't received their number, but it's much smaller than the DSAB number, so if it will make a difference, so. And, the MPAC number has been updated, and that's the latest number we received from MPAC.
So
the
that's
2024.
down, that's
Down,
basically
down.
down
That's
from
down.
the budget of the year before.
Yes,
Good.
yes,
Mhm.
so,
Okay.
any questions? Go ahead.
Yes, John.
So basically that $300,000 more is just from these outside agencies, then basically is the increase, say, for the whole outside agencies?
Yeah, for
from
the most
previous
part,
year?
yeah, for the most part, we have no control
No, exactly.
over
So
what they budget.
we're gonna
bill
get
us.
hit with whatever they shoot at
Mhm.
us.
Whatever they give
Yes.
us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So. Okay, the building and planning, so. Carrie may want to speak in more details, but we do have I guess the plan with this is to net to zero. And there are really no significant changes from previous drafts of it. So we are expecting another good year. We will have exceeded the 2024 budget with our 2023 billings. So we may need to look at the rate we charge next year, but for the most part, I think we'll keep it the same, and then if there's anything transferred to reserves or.
Okay.
Bylaw enforcement, again, this is largely unchanged. So the big difference with this is that we're expecting Larry to be operational for the full year. So
Careful how you word that.
Yeah.
Use that word operational.
so next one, Stanley Hill Cemetery. I don't know if there are any questions on that, but again, it's largely unchanged from earlier versions of it. Yes, Councilor Pika.
Councillor Pico?
Yeah, thank you. I'm just wondering if the department charges for grass cutting supervisor, et cetera, I see they're the same amount as they were for the previous year. The wage increases that our employees receive, is that sufficient to cover those costs, or is it strictly a line item transfer from one department to the other?
It's a line item transfer. It's an estimate based on the allocation between departments. But based on the 2024 wage that we did, it should be sufficient. The council, next page, council budget. Again, I don't know if there are no items in here that are changed.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I'm just wondering about the council initiatives. I see we were over just very slightly for to the end of November. But I'm just looking for clarification as to what exactly is in there. From what I understand, it's this year we're going to help the Friends of the Heritage Park get organized. So there was a cost associated to that. But is that where the taxes for the Legion, the assistance that we give to Rural 60, hall rentals for seniors teas that get written off?
No.
Where do those things end up? Ice rentals for the Norwest?
No. For example, if Heimers comes and wants to advertise in their booklet,
Mhm.
I believe that's the initiative.
Okay, because I thought that.
Or Morello Fair wants us to advertise. It has to do with something this council is doing, not any other department. But it's just like a miscellaneous for council, where it doesn't fall into any other category. Council makes a decision, we will support something, then it comes out of that amount.
So like a memorial donation or St. James Church, those kind of things, would they
Not the
fall under
church,
there?
not the church, but memorial, yes.
Okay, just wondered how those other expenses were
Mhm.
recouped somehow, somewhere. I don't see it in anywhere else, so.
Okay.
Any other questions on the council? Economic development, the larger item here is, the revenue is the calendar. And the expenses again is we expect more public meetings and stuff related to some industrial developments and like that we're anticipating.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I don't see any salaries for economic development, and yet the calendar takes up a fair amount of effort, whether it be staff looking for advertisers or the assembly of the calendar or distribution. So I'm just wondering, do we not need to have salaries in economic development?
I believe the salaries that we had budgeted before were specific for the idea of going out and rounding up similar to this, the community economic development that the city has, but we don't do that. So that's why they've been removed. This dates back to a program, the older amounts date back to a program that I believe was funded by, maybe it was NOHFC. I believe it was. So we don't do, we're not doing that program anymore. So that's why there are no salaries. But if the council believes that it's appropriate to allocate a percentage of staff time for Sarah or Carrie, we can certainly do that.
Well, I think right now it's just part of our planner's job. So it's all under planning. We don't specifically hire a person. We did have an intern at one time, and that was our portion of the wage. Yeah, Councillor Calvert, you had a question?
Well, it's just, it seems like it's the same amount no matter what, 23 budget to 24 budget for expenditures.
Mhm.
Is that just included in there as a salary, or
No, that-
is that just, there was an actual increase? No?
No, so between 2023 and 2024, the salary was dropped because that intern was dropped. However, in discussions with Director of Operations, like I said, we are anticipating more public meetings and advertising required related to some of the industrial developments happening around Twin Cities in the municipality. So.
And we are also covering some of that advertising ourselves as a municipality. Like, for example, although we aren't charging each other, we are including some of our own departments in the calendar now, which I think is a good idea.
Right. So fire and emergency services, the largest change in this department was the removal of the full-time fire public education employee firefighter. So that has been removed in this version of the document. The capital purchases for vehicles are what we discussed at the last meeting. So if
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I had an opportunity to look through previous minutes with regard to the Regional Training Center. And the report from 2021 indicates that this was a 3-year program. So does it expire this year?
There's a memorandum of understanding that I think had a 3-year term on it with an extension clause in there. And I know there is discussion about renewing those memorandum of understandings.
Okay, and then as far as expenses for the RTC, does the municipality, is it recouped in any way? Do we have staff, our staff that are required or asked to do duties with regard to the RTC and materials that are needed, equipment costs, anything? I know that there is a line item in the budget as far as the revenue and the expenditure, but I don't know that it's supposed to be a money maker.
No, it's not a money maker. It does actually generate some surplus cash that goes towards operating like lights and stuff like that in the station. So every student that attends pays on a daily rate. That goes into that revenue line that's in the budget.
Mhm.
And then all the expenses that are directly related to courses come out of that expense account. And it is getting refined as we do more courses with respect to the cost of doing the RTC. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
So we don't know if this is going to be renewed or,
It will be renewed unless the province says no. But we're the only active RTC in Northern Ontario. And my intention is to renew it unless they shut us down.
okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And I guess I should note, we did increase the rates this year. So we used to charge $35 a day. And the last portion of the courses from 2023, we upped it to 45 a day. And we do have, there's a couple courses that are more intensive in terms of equipment that's being used. And those will be separate rates. We're just working out the cost on them. So I am tracking the cost to make sure it's not negatively impacting the municipality.
If our municipality had a call, say, on the highway, and the RTC was running the course there, and it was, say the incident was right in the village of Kakabeka, what happens? Can those vehicles be pulled away from the training? Or do you wait for another department?
No, as it stands now, we haven't, knock on wood, had a situation like that.
Mhm.
But it's understood that we're an operating fire hall and we would respond and then adapt the training to that.
Okay,
Now, there's an auto extrication course coming up this year that's gonna be a little bit different. But I'm asking other municipalities to, we'll say, donate equipment so that we're not left hanging. And I've got buy-in from the other municipalities.
okay.
Perfect, thank you. Hey, Joan?
And anything else on fire operations? Okay. So then the next, page 23 is, fire capital. Again, the amounts are unchanged from the previous meeting. Except for, if you go to page 24, there is a $30,000 that was transferred to the reserve for the purchase of future equipment. So we're drawing down the reserve that we had in previous years this year. And then so we're going to also start building it up. So and then you can see they're highlighted in your package. It was highlighted in previous are the capital purchases this year. So it's a rescue truck, pumpers, extrication gear, that kind of stuff. So any questions related to that?
Thank you.
Okay, so general recreation, again, this amount is primarily unchanged from previous draft that we looked at. So we are making progress on the NOHFC. At the January 31st meeting, we will include a report on where we stand in terms of what we have spent to date versus what we have put in our agreement with NOHFC. So rough draft just is that in the Northwest Recreation Agreement 183, we have a balance of approximately $435,000 for 2024. And then in 182, the playgrounds and recreation areas, we have a balance of approximately $429,000 for 2024. Although some expenses are still coming in.
Mhm.
So that number may change. So.
Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. With regard to recreation, for the rinks, I see that we just have $250 for repair and maintenance. That isn't enough to cover one load of water, is it, for the rinks? I think water's up to $300 a load, if I'm correct.
Through the chair, yes, water is going up. What we like to do is split one load between two facilities as we come down. So the capital outlay is 6 loads a year for 4 rinks.
And I'm just wondering if we could possibly, for the Intola rink, have it leveled so that we don't lose all the water that gets delivered. Please and thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Okay, and the recreational capital we kind of discussed, primarily NOHFC and the carry forwards, and we'll have a clear picture for the 31st. The next line item is the landfill. So again, this is primarily unchanged. So we are we have had some discussions with CMO over the last few weeks. So effective July 1st, the municipality will not be doing recycle. We're not responsible for hauling recycling. That will be handled by CMO. Also, CMO will be paying us some money to cover some of our costs for operating the recycling depot, approximately $2,707 a month. It doesn't cover everything that it costs, but unfortunately, the way the rules are written is they only have to cover our 2020 costs. So,
Isn't
so
that sneaky?
as you all know, costs have increased since 2020, but
Wait.
I just wanted to add, we're still talking with the CMO and we have options. We can either tell them we're not interested in having a transition agreement with them effective July 1st this year, or we can buy into it. Regardless of what we do there, I think it's July 1, 2025, or is it 2026? They're going to take over anyways.
yeah, 2026. 2020, effective 2026, CMO
January 1,
completely is in charge of recycling in the province. So municipality no longer has a role.
So what will be happening once we get more of the situation gelling, we'll need to come to council with a report on what does council want to do? Go with the transition agreement with CMO, or tell them we're not interested and see how that works.
And that is one meeting we will be holding in Toronto next Monday.
Right.
So that we will be discussing it. We did last year with the ministry too, because we are not being in Northern Ontario, we are not being treated the same as Southern Ontario. And it's understandable because there's not recycling depots close by, but we still shouldn't be discriminated against. So hopefully we'll be able to have some good discussions with them on Monday. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I'm just wondering, did we have an opportunity to get the scrap to the scrapyard prior to year end?
Correct.
Good, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, also, I believe in the year-to-date actual, we are over 125,000, I believe, with our contract to remove for soil. And the director of operations can clarify that if he,
Perfect.
so. Nothing there. The library, these reflect the amounts that we received from the library, and as well as what we discussed at the previous council. They had library has not come back with any changes to their budget. So.
Councillor Peacock?
Yeah.
Thank you. I was at their meeting last night and I'm just wondering, although it's not in this portion of the library budget, but when you look in the Merlot and the Rosin Hall, it says the rentals for the library, but there's been nothing allocated, and yet the library has been paying the municipality for use of the hall. So I'm just wondering if that is a transfer that needs to be done or what, because they have been paying for programming.
Yeah, that will be part of our year-end budget transfers that we do, part of the reconciliation for the financials.
Okay.
So livestock, this program operates essentially, I guess our revenue matches, we don't make any money at this, I guess, is the long and short of it.
What is supposed to cover?
It's supposed to cover our expenses. It comes pretty close, but I believe it costs us a small amount, but.
Yeah.
I'm actually learning quite a bit about cows, you know, as an aside,
You are?
about cows and,
Are you having a meeting with Bernie?
no, but Counselor Viss has been very helpful.
Okay,
In,
perfect.
in this, so.
That's perfect.
So the next one, Amarillo Hall, this reflects, the latest, level of services. Now, there may be some interest in having discussions on that. I don't know if final decision has been made on what the level of service that we are anticipating.
Any questions? None?
No, okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right. So the museum, there has been a couple of meetings of the museum board since our last budget meeting, and they requested that we retain the assistant curator position. So the budget now reflects an assistant curator position. We had in earlier drafts had moved that position to more of a like student, you know, handy person type
Mhm.
position. But they felt that that assistant curator position was better suited for what they have planned coming up. So
Perfect. Counselor Peacock?
Thank you. Just wondering when we look at the hydro and the heat for this year, for 2023, if they only run basically 3 months a year, do we know why they're so high?
Well, they heat the buildings in the winter as well, some of them.
yeah, they're required to maintain a minimum level of heat in a building that has water in it.
Yes.
And
And the artifacts too, I believe, that are in the Slate River Hall, those have to be at a certain temperature too.
and they have to maintain power at the Rushless Garage,
Mhm.
et cetera, because of the alarm systems and the like, so. But I don't have any insight as to why they.
When we took it over 10 years ago, the corporate report said, does it require inspection by the fire inspector to ensure it's up to code? I'm just wondering, in those 10 years, have we had an opportunity to?
Yeah, we were in there this summer and did an inspection on it.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Northwest Rec, again, no significant changes here. Like I said, we discussed with the NOHFC, we'll have I guess I got the rough numbers, but we'll have better numbers come the January 31st final meeting if we wish to have a discussion about NOHFC projects.
Certainly. Counselor Peacock?
Does anyone else jump in? Just wondering who, I see now that we have Wi-Fi at the Norwest. Whose responsibility is that to pay for that system? Or is it T-Baytel that's done it, or how does that work?
So T-Baytel installed the Wi-Fi at the Northwest Arena as part of a program that we have with through T-Baytel. It was funded through a broadband initiative that's Wayne can tell you guys about how much
grant.
how much work that's been just to get the reports done for them. And they're part of the monthly fees that we already pay for Norwest for internet and the like, so.
There won't be an increase then?
No, it's part of, no, I don't, there should not be an increase for the service. We just rolled it over. We got a deal, if you will, when they bundled because they were in the neighborhood type thing. So, yeah, so, but that does, if we are interested, T-Baytel has contacted me, and I don't know if you're aware, T-Baytel Arena Live. Have you heard of what that is? So T-Baytel broadcasts, streams the games live from the city arenas. And because we now have the fiber out there, they have offered to provide that service to us. That they would, so that, say for example, Judy's grandkids are playing at Norwest and she's not able to go, she can watch the games on the computer.
Mhm.
I think for games at Norwest, that would be good because, you know, it's a lot farther to travel for some people. So they'll offer to do that and that would be fully covered by T-Baytel. However, the Walleye games will not be broadcast.
Because they have a system by where
Their
you
own
pay
system. Yeah,
to watch the
they pay.
games.
So,
Yeah.
so they would black out when the Walleye games are,
Mhm.
but for the rest of the time, you'd be able to stream the games live. So.
Mhm.
Be a busy place because we don't usually have the hockey there, do we? The Robins hockey tournament?
It's there this weekend.
Yes, it is.
Oh.
I didn't think we. What, okay. Yeah, internet
Mm-hmm.
will be well used, I'm sure.
I'm just, my understanding with regard to that fiber, having that now, that makes the bank payment terminal work better as well.
There should be no issues with any connectivity.
Yeah, because we do have that, what do you
Maybe
call
tell.
those little units? I can't remember the term.
Yeah,
The bank machine.
yeah, the bank
The
machine.
bank, the
Yeah.
square.
When you got
The
fiber,
card
it
reader,
should
yeah.
be working better.
Yeah, it was workable
Yeah.
for some of them, but I think now it should be, we should all be covered
Yeah,
with all the organizations.
we're starting to see transactions come through the bank.
Yeah.
For credit card sales at Norwest Arena, so.
Good, because
seems to be working.
most people, now 75% of people today don't have a dollar in their pocket, but they have a card.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that, you know, cash is leaky anytime you're taking cash in anywhere. So having the bank card or credit card payment method is great.
Yes, that's what people want. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
so Norwest was covered, sorry.
It's nice to see they've gone down by about $43,000 at the end of the year in levy.
So planning and development, again, there's largely unchanged from the previous draft. So this is an allocation of some of the salaries between our current staff, as well as the use of consultants for planning issues.
Questions? No? Counselor Peacock?
Thank you. I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity for perhaps the assistant planner or to take introduction to planning or a course of any kind. Do you know if there's anything that's available at all, Carrie? You heard
Outside
anything?
of the training that's available to any member of the committee of adjustment, there isn't. There's a primer on planning, but
Yes.
it's 3 months. Like you're in school, basically.
Okay. Is it something you have to do online or are you familiar with it at all?
Well, I did it 10 years ago. It's done online primarily, I
Mhm.
believe, and then
Mhm.
there's exams and assignments that you have to do.
Okay.
Normally, it's always been the procedure or policy at the municipality that if an employee comes and asks to take a course, as long as they pass, we will pay for the course, right? Is that still the policy?
Sorry, I'm not aware of that policy.
Well, I know we did pass a resolution that, you know, you're welcome to take any course, get approval from your supervisor. And then if you come and you've passed it and you've got, shows that you've completed it and passed it, that we will reimburse you for the cost of the course. So that has been in the past, so we can double check, but I know I remember that going through, so. So staff and they're all, you know, they're all free to come and ask if they want to take a course in any of the topics of their job.
Okay, Public Works is next. So in terms of operating, there's not much different than what we had in previous budgets. So
Except for the insurance going
Except
up
for the insurance.
20,000.
except for, yeah, sorry, the insurance, and that's highlighted there. So
Counselor Peacock?
Thank you. With regard to the OCIF funding, I see that it's in the Public Works Department. But when I had a look at the opportunities that you can use that funding for, you can use it for your asset management planning, for the staff, for asset management software. And I'm just wondering if we could share at least a portion of the OCIF funding with other departments, whether it be the asset management, which then falls under administration, or a portion of it go to the water system, rather than, we haven't heard anything on a grant, am I correct, with regard to the water system?
It's just opened now.
Okay, I'm just wondering if we could allocate OCIF funding to other departments rather than just strictly have it a line item every year for Public Works. Just a thought.
Wayne?
Yes, you're correct. The OCIF funding can be used for water, wastewater, sewer, all types of infrastructure purposes. So it could be used for the water system. What we have done traditionally is use it for road projects, but it could be used for other infrastructure.
Okay,
I'd appreciate that being given some consideration.
okay. Okay,
Yes, council will be getting a report on that fund that we're talking about, the Housing Enabling Water System Fund. And the other one that was announced in August by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Building Better Fund. The information we have now indicates that our project will not be eligible for either one of those programs.
so that's a discussion we will be holding in Toronto. And also we've received notification that the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing will not be speaking to us at that conference, but they've invited us to have a separate meeting with them, which we'll do when we come back. Councillor Peacock?
Thank you. I had another question with regard to the grader. A few years ago, we put $20,000 into a repair, am I correct? I had 2022, there was $20,000 from reserves for a repair for a grader. And when we look at the revenue and sale of used equipment, $200,000, would that be for the possible sale of the grader? Or is that other equipment that we may have?
Through the chair, that is a cumulative number in regards to both capital projects for purchased for dispersal. Unit number 25 is on the docket to be replaced this year, as well as the grader if council so chooses. I'm hoping to net 200,000 between the two items.
And we had to add 75,000, correct, for replacement of a service van? And so I'm just wondering, when you look at the zoning map, it shows how many few gravelled roads that we have. So I understand that the grader has to be used to scarify in the winter, but we have hardly any gravel roads that would require the grader use. And I'm not a road superintendent. I totally understand that. I'm just trying to justify buying a new grader at this time when, other than winter scarifying, I don't know how much it would be necessary to, or how necessary it is to get one at this time.
So through the chair, the capital requirements, it's 11 years old this year. It just rolled 10,000 hours. We had some historical costs in regards to the transmission. We are on borrowed time in regards to that. If council so chooses a level of service to defer the purchase of a grader, then we will go down that road.
We did look at, and we did ask you to look at the fact that we might lease one when required. But first of all, that doesn't mean there's one available when you need it. And the costs over time are quite extensive on a leased vehicle as well. So I believe that we should keep it in the budget. Grader is one of the most important vehicles. We only have one. We used to have two. So I do think that we have to continue to have one. Counselor?
Yeah, so certainly don't want to speak out of turn and pretend I know the business of the Public Works department, but to me, if we're getting that many hours on it, obviously we're using it. So I mean, that's right there. At the age it's at, if it's got that many hours, we're certainly putting it to good use.
So through the chair to the original Councillor Peacock's comment, yes, when we purchased that grader in 2013, we traded two of them to get that one. It was a net upset cost of about $287,000. At that time, we had about 35% of our road network was gravel. So yes, a lot of hours were front loaded on that machine, and Council is absolutely correct, where it is used strictly primarily for snow removal. However, given the climate conditions, I will say last year we had 4 graders working for 3 solid weeks, and this year it hasn't moved. So it's a decision of council to go for another year or have another report in regards to leasing options or what we do with the grader.
Counselor Wayne?
I'm not a roads expert either, but my knowledge of graders is there's nothing better to cut ice at intersections as well as cut hardened snowbanks. When you've got the banks crouching in on your street and everything, you need a large unit to bump it out. You can't use a plow truck.
Depending on the level of commitment, to lease a grader from a third party operator is $165 to $185 an hour.
Plus, if you've got bad weather, they're all out.
Yeah,
Grouse.
it is possible to sign a contingency agreement with them where you are given a priority for a grader, but that does cost you a little bit more.
That's right. You have to
There.
pay a fee to
So
retain it.
that would be closer to the 185. I believe there are additional costs that we haven't that we incurred in December for operating the grader, another $8,000 or so. I think it was a set of tires were purchased for the grader. So I think the costs for the grader are about $20,000 at the end of December. No, maybe, sorry, $23,000 at the end of December. And I don't believe that includes the fuel allocation yet, so.
Counselor Calvert?
Yes, and undoubtedly, since a lot more roads are chip sealed and that, probably the life of the grader will be extended even with the new one versus, the past practice of having to run it more often.
And further to that, I also know very little about roads, but when you rebuild roads, you need a grader to grade whatever's there before they pave or chip seal it. So the grader gets more use than just the few gravel roads.
Through the chair, we use that grader for reconstruction purposes. However, over the last couple of years with our massive expansion and covering the gravel roads, and now with instituting overlays on existing roads, we do the frost boils with it, but total reconstruction of roads and hauling gravel, that kind of workload has slowed down somewhat. But yeah, we need the operating weight to what Wayne had mentioned to cut ice in the winter and push banks. Trucks can't do it. So.
Counselor Peacock?
One further question with regard to the proposal for the clerk for the works.
Mhm.
Just wondering why can the Public Works, or sorry, the asset manager not be involved in some of that? If we have Canoe working with Canoe, can they not do a portion of what had previously been done by the asset manager? Where is this person going to be? Do we need to buy a new computer and new programming for it? Will it be an internal position that's posted, or will it be a summer student position? Just more details, that's all.
Well, my personal feeling is that Public Works is one of the most expensive departments in our municipality. Our roads are the most visible to our residents. And right now, that department has to go around this office and look for someone to do reports. That is really, to me, is very sad. This department requires administration assistance, and I feel that we have to keep that position in there. If we want to see the workload decreased for the Public Works Director, And so that he can spend more time doing other things that are coming up both from the province and from requests from council and residents, I feel that that position must remain. My comments only if someone else wants to bring up a comment on that. Yes,
So we don't know where this person will be or any other further details on it?
Through the chair, we're still in the process of drafting what the actual job description will do. It'll be an external posting. It'll be a new hire. It could be 1.0 full-time equivalently added to the components. And we are looking, we've deferred the office reconfiguration in the back area, and we may be creating a desk space in that area for this person.
and yes, a new employee means a computer and a desk.
Yes.
Any other comments? Okay. Anything else on the capital on page 38 for roads or? Yes, Councillor Peacock.
Light bulb just went on, sorry. I did have a question with regard to, I was approached by a resident, Hearthstone Bridge. What are we doing with it? Now, at our meeting in, last, and on the 9th of January, whatever, it was noted in the long-range plan that that bridge, $10 million, I believe was the 2024 figure, and it was going to be replaced in 4 years. Am I correct in that? Well,
So through the chair, we received a report from an engineering firm as requested by administration last year in regards to the specifics of the Hearthstone Bridge. Their recommendation, which is shown in the 2024 budget, is for an annual inspection yearly going forward with a total replacement starting in 2028. They've put a 5-year life expectancy on the superstructure.
And then it will be a decision of council if they want to spend that money or what their options are. Okay. We can't remove it from our asset management plan. It's an asset. We can't just take it out, pretend it's not there. It's an asset.
no, I'm sure that the resident will appreciate knowing what possibly happened. At least it's continued to be inspected, so
That's right. Yes. Okay, anything else on capital?
So I think this was kind of noted in the discussion earlier, but there isn't the addition of a service van for $75,000 that you see on.
That was a decision of council at our last meeting. Yes.
So that is included. Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
Okay. The next item is Roslyn Hall. Level of service remains unchanged from the previous discussions that we had. So
Alrighty.
no questions on that. Then we have the Superior North EMS on page 43. Again, amounts remain unchanged, so.
South Garage?
So garage. Again, there has been no changes to South Garage from the previous draft of the budget.
Councillor Campoff?
Just curious, what is the current plan for the South Garage? Because is it just kind of in limbo now, or?
So through the chair, we are approaching the MOECP in regards to the process to sever a certain amount of acreage, including that building, off of our landfill license. The costs for the surveying and that legwork are included in the 2024 budget. Those conversations will start here shortly. I imagine it's going to be a 90 to 120 day process to get that free and clear. We have to redo our landfill license because the area of the building is included in that. There may be additional responsibilities for placing well monitors closer to the severed piece. So throughout the course of the next 4 months, we will have some report to be brought to council to change it, to sever that piece off. And then at that point in time, there'll be discussion in regards to disposal or repurpose.
Okay,
Next one, streetlights. Again, they're largely unchanged. And the final page is the Roslyn Village water system. So,
and again, I believe we will probably be talking to someone about the cost of the water system once we're in Toronto.
yes. So right now it,
Somebody,
somebody hopefully talked to us about it. So, yes.
right? Yeah, yes.
With regard to that water system, we had a discussion in the council about whether the taxpayer or the water user will cover it. And what we at the council decided at the last meeting was we'll use a reserve transfer, and once the we get more information, who's paying for whether we get funding, et cetera, then we can decide how that reserve transfer will be allocated out.
Thank you. Councillor Peacock?
And that is exactly why I thought perhaps we could use the gift of an OCIF funding for that if we aren't able to get funding otherwise for the waterworks. Thank
Okay.
you.
It's just basically what you'll be doing is moving it from one page to the other. And then that other first page is going to have to get the funding from somewhere to do whatever they're doing with it. So it really, it doesn't make a heck of a lot of difference at the end of the budget. You're just putting part of it in another department.
Yeah, for presentation purposes, there is a difference, but for the municipality at the end of the year, the bottom line, there is no difference. Whichever one you take.
Yes.
Well, I did have a conversation with Councillor Peacock about that, and the difference is if you use the OCIF money, then the taxpayer is not contributing to the water plant. So that's what's different.
Mhm. We could certainly look at that, yes.
And we can allocate during the year
Mhm.
the amount however we
Change that.
chose to do it. So,
Yes. It's a good idea. Okay,
and so,
now we had come back to the same question again. We are looking on page,
page 5.
beginning of our report, page 5. This again will be the decision of council, but the levy increase will be 6.06%. But with growth, it will be down to 3.54%. Council's thoughts on that levy increase? Councillor Kamphoff?
I think in light of the current economic climate, in light of the union negotiations that we've recently completed, and in light of moving forward and making continued investments in our municipality, I think I'd like to thank administration for coming up with a reasonable number, because I'm comfortable with that.
Their thoughts from councillors? No? Councillor Viss?
I'll give you my summary. Can't support what we got here.
No, excuse me, Alan, you wanna?
I believe we're going backwards. If I look at loan payments for this year was 774,803. And if you look at the loan repayment in our new budget for this coming year, $1,100,000. That's $325,695 more in payments, which carry, excuse me, an 8% interest rate, so they tell me. And the question is, so that I know what they'll say, yeah, but if we don't borrow at all, we won't be doing that. Well, how can you justify these numbers then if that's where you're going to go? And the reason I'm saying that, what I'm looking at, when you look at 1.7 million for vehicles in the fire department, we haven't got a spec out yet for a vehicle. So are we going to get a vehicle this year? I have no idea. If no, then why don't we reduce that by 50%, and then next year you take the other 50 when you in reality get the vehicles. Same with the roads, $960,000 in all equipment. Are we going to get it this year? Then you budget. If not, you should only have to put 50% in and then do the reality the following year. I can't accept this budget, so I will not, and I will be calling for a recorded vote.
Okay, Counselor, Counselor Peacock?
I would like to see the 2023 figures, just to see where we are at the end of the year before we make any kind of a decision. I know we can't go back on what's already been spent, but at least have an idea as to if we're good for the end of the year, or if we're going to have to dip into our reserves for unknown reasons at the present time.
Yeah, so I will, I'll have updated 2023 December figures for the January 31st meeting. Unfortunately, just with the timing, having to get this out, on the first kind of weekday back at the end of the year wasn't possible to get.
No problem. Any other comments, Counselor Calvert?
No, undoubtedly, our budget is within range. It might be a little bit over, but we said around a 5%, I think is what most reasonable expectations. It's a little bit more, but it's not way out of range like some places are, so it is well within our range.
And with growth, it's really only 3-point-something%, so. So resolution, did you want, with resolution, we'll be coming back to our next meeting. I'm comfortable with this budget. I think that administration has done a very good job with what's been presented to us when we first started. And it is definitely not over the cost of living, which we're all dealing with in our homes. We can't go any lower than that because we're going to start going backwards, is my thought. So if there's anything new, we have a resolution to adjourn the meeting, the time being 10:06 a.m. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried.